After the raw explosion of Jagged Little Pill, Alanis Morissette stepped back into the studio with a quieter resolve. The world had grown used to her unfiltered voice, yet she chose a different path on Under Rug Swept. The album arrived with less fire and more reflection, as if she had learned to measure each word before releasing it. Hands Clean sits at the center of that shift. Morissette sings as both the one who lived the story and the one who now watches it unfold from a safer distance. She recalls late-night calls and shared ambitions, yet she never fully steps inside the memory. Instead, she circles it, offering fragments that hint at something larger left unsaid. The relationship she describes carries an imbalance of power that feels familiar to anyone who has watched one person steer while the other follows. She is younger, less established, and drawn to the promise of guidance. He holds the leverage, the experience, the ability to open doors or close them. The lyrics never name him, but the weight of that imbalance lingers in every line. What makes the track distinctive is its guarded tone. Morissette does not rage or confess in the same breath as before. She presents the facts of the connection with a careful distance, inviting listeners to decide how much is memory and how much is reinvention. That restraint mirrors the very theme of the song, the desire to keep certain chapters private even while the public keeps asking for more. In the early 2000s landscape of polished pop and carefully managed images, her choice to write about uneven power without naming names felt quietly radical. She let the details stay personal while the feeling became universal. The result is a song that protects its own secrets, even as it reveals them. That desire to keep certain chapters private, even while the public keeps asking for more, sets the stage for how the song unfolds its story. The verses begin in the quiet corners of personal recollection, where small gestures and half-spoken regrets carry the weight of lived experience. From there, the narrative widens, pulling in the ripple effects that reach beyond one life and into the broader circle of witnesses and consequences. Each new line adds another layer of distance, turning a private ache into something that can be recognized by anyone who has ever felt the imbalance of power. The chorus arrives like a sudden spotlight. It fixes on the image of scrubbed hands, clean and blameless on the surface, yet unable to wash away what lingers underneath. That single picture holds the entire tension of the song. It does not explain or defend. It simply repeats the act of cleansing, letting the repetition itself become the point. Listeners hear both the hope of innocence restored and the quiet admission that some stains refuse to lift. Throughout, the narrator's perspective keeps shifting. One moment she stands inside the memory, close enough to feel every detail. The next, she steps back, observing her own choices with a cooler eye. This movement creates space for accountability without demanding full exposure. The self-protection is deliberate. She names the pattern rather than the person, allowing the listener to fill in the rest. Production choices reinforce the same balance. Layered vocals sit just behind the lead, suggesting other voices that might have been present yet never quite step forward. Dynamics stay measured, never swelling into dramatic release. The restraint keeps the focus on what is said and what is held back. The result is a track that feels both confessional and guarded, inviting interpretation while still guarding its core. By the final chorus, the image of clean hands has become inescapable. It lingers after the music fades, a reminder that revelation and restraint can share the same space. The song closes not with resolution, but with that persistent picture, leaving the weight of choice exactly where it began. This same tension between confession and guard has allowed the song to endure as a quiet companion for those moving through relationships that feel out of balance. Few artists have attempted full covers, perhaps because the original leaves so little room for reinterpretation without losing its careful equilibrium. Yet the track continues to surface in playlists and personal reflections whenever someone needs language for the moment they decide to stop carrying shared blame. Listeners often arrive at the song through its most direct warning. hearing only the caution against entanglement and the repeated insistence on clean hands. That surface reading carries real weight, especially for anyone who has felt pressure to absorb fault that does not belong to them. Still, the narrator's steady refusal to accept the full story imposed on her receives less attention than it deserves. Beneath the surface caution lives a measured reclamation of voice, one that chooses what to reveal and what to withhold. The song never asks for sympathy in the usual way. Instead, it presents a record of events and lets the listener decide where responsibility actually rests. This restraint is what keeps the piece from sliding into simple accusation or tidy resolution. Its lasting pull comes from the way personal detail opens onto larger questions about how stories are kept or rewritten after a relationship ends. The specific images, the references to shared spaces and private conversations, anchor the track in one lived experience. At the same time, those details invite anyone who has negotiated uneven power to map their own memories onto the same frame. The result is a piece that feels intimate without becoming private property, and universal without losing its particular edges. Over time, the song has become less about one breakup and more about the ongoing work of deciding whose version of events will stand. That negotiation never fully concludes, which is why the final image of clean hands continues to resonate long after the music stops.